is beautiful up here. There was some snow that rolled in earlier. Looks like there's a little more coming. It's really pretty up here.
Hold hands and look this way. Laurie? Come on, Laurie. Where are you?
Hello everybody, welcome back. Jiu-Jitsu 2000 here today. I'm coming at you with an interesting video for you. Today I want to talk about making a fire in inclement conditions. As you can see behind me, there's snow on the ground. We just got done having a snowstorm, and I'm going to share some techniques and tricks with you that you can use to make a fire under these types of conditions. So I hope you enjoy the video. The first thing that I want to recommend when it comes to making a fire when there's snow on the ground is finding a good location to make your fire, and more importantly, how to establish a fire lay, which is basically a barrier. It's a barrier that will keep the fire off of the snow on the ground, which is damp. We want to stay away from that moisture. So what I'm doing right now is I'm looking for some pieces of wood or bark or things of that nature, again, that I can use as my lay to separate the fire from the moisture on the ground. Now looking over here down in the distance, you can see that there's a log that is down, and I'm looking and I can see a small piece of bark hanging off of it right down there. I'm going to go grab that and use that for my fire lay. This will be perfect to use as my barrier. See that? It's nice and dry for the most part. This will be perfect for what we're needing. Okay, right there you can see that there's a little bit of a clearing. That's the point where I'm going to put this fire lay. I think that's going to be a good spot for us to build our fire. Right there. Just like so. Okay, at this point what I want to do is I want to try to establish my tinder, my small fuel, my medium fuel, and my large fuel. So I'm going to get 4 different piles of wood and tinder and things of that nature to make sure that I have it all together long before I throw that first spark. Right over here in the distance you can see there's a lot of grass on the ground. I'm going to go ahead and grab some of that. I think that'll be good for me to use as my first layer of tinder. And as I'm pulling these pieces of grass, I'm kind of shaking them to make sure that I'm getting rid of any kind of snow or any kind of moisture that might be on it. So I'm just kind of shaking them, getting rid of the snow off of this grass. Now this stuff is all still damp right now, but it will be able to be used. Hello.
Hello.
I don't need too much. This is probably plenty right here. See that? It's not too much. Main thing that I want to try to do is make sure that there's no moisture on it. I want to get rid of all the moisture as much as I can anyway. You can see on the end here I have a lot of dirt and stuff. I'm going to go ahead and take my knife and I'm just going to cut that section off. I don't want that. I just want the grass itself. Something like that. I know that doesn't look like much, but that should be all I need. Okay, for my second layer, I've already got my grass now. For my second layer, I need things that are smaller than a pencil in diameter. Small pieces of wood. But because of the inclement conditions, it's important where I go to find that wood. I don't want to pick up anything off the ground because things on the ground are moist, they're damp, and that's going to be hard when it comes to making a fire. So I'm looking right here and I see some stuff that's hanging on the tree that appears to be dead, but what I want to really make sure of is when I bend them, see how that snapped? That broke? That's the kind of stuff that I want. Stuff that still has that snap in it, because that stuff is dry enough to catch. So I'm just going to go through and I'm going to establish some of this stuff. Nothing no larger than this piece right here. Nothing larger than a pencil right now, just small stuff. This will be the first thing that burns after I catch that grass. So this is my first layer. Excuse me, my second layer. So that snap is important. All small stuff, nothing too significant. Make sure you get plenty. I'm not going to make a real big fire today. It's going to be a small fire, but I do need plenty of this material. If you get stuff that just bends and doesn't snap, that stuff is too moist and it's not going to work for us. So you need to hear that snap every time. So this is kind of what the second layer looks like. Just small stuff like that. Okay, for my third layer, I want things that are a little bit larger than a pencil in diameter, and I'm still looking for that snap. So stuff like this size, this is what I want for my third layer. This is my first real layer of fuel. But again, I'm trying to avoid picking things up off the ground because they could be moist. I want to avoid the damped wood as much as I can. Things that are hanging out of this tree, like I'm looking at right here behind me, this stuff is perfect. This stuff is perfect because the snow and things of that nature has a hard time hanging on to stuff like this. So I have some smaller stuff that I'm going to add to my last pile, but this is really what I'm looking for in this step. Again, that snap is really important. That's probably the best indicator that I can recommend to let you know that that material is dry. Okay, I have my first 3 layers established. I need my 4th layer, which is the actual fuel that I'm going to burn. Again, not to reiterate too much, but I want to make sure that I'm finding things, you know, actual fuel that I'm going to put on the fire. And I don't want to pick up anything off the ground. I want things that are laying across, you know, such as this piece right here that you can see that's laying against that log. I know it's covered with snow, but it's off the ground for the most part, and it still is dry inside. So things like that, things like this tree here, this skinny one, but I want to avoid stuff like this that's on the ground covered. It's too much moisture. If I could come over here to this tree like this, and you can see all those branches, that's down and dead, I can break some of those off and use those as well. So this will be my 4th layer. See that? Stuff like this, actual fuel. Okay, here's my last piece. See that stuff? That's pretty good. Had a real clean snap to it. Nice and dry inside. Okay, here's my fire lay that I had. And down here on the ground, you can see that I have 2 pieces of wood laid out lengthwise. What these are for is these are to hold my material so that it's not sitting directly on the ground. I have all my stuff together and it's close by so that I can use it very quickly. It's very easy to reach, and it's sitting on that wood to keep it off of the ground. Keep it as dry as possible. Okay, it's about time for me to put everything together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this grass, and again I'm going to make sure that I try to get it as dry as possible. I'm going to kind of turn this grass into what would look like a bird's nest. I want it to be the shape of almost a bird's nest. You got to remember that this stuff is as dry as possible, but it still has moisture in it. So when I throw that spark, there's going to be the chance that what has to happen with this small flame that I establish is it has to heat this stuff up and dry it before it can actually ignite it. So I want to loosen this material. I'm trying to break the fibers down as small as I can to give it the most amount of surface area that I can get so that it'll help dry it fairly quickly. And it's going to be difficult to get this started, again, because the material's damp. I have my kindling close by. In my pocket I have a small cotton ball, just like this. I'm going to open these fibers up on this cotton ball. This is what's going to catch my ember from my ferro rod. So I'm opening it up, trying to make it nice and open. I want it to capture that ember very well. So I want a lot of airflow between these fibers. I want it nice and open. This is going to give me the best chance to get that initial ignition to hopefully light that damp grass. So here's my cotton ball. I'm going to lay it right in the center, down kind of low. I have my ferro rod in my hand. I'm going to use the spine of my knife. This knife doesn't have a very good spine, so I'm going to use the bladed edge, and I'm going to strike this cotton ball. And as soon as I get that thing ignited, I have to be very quick to apply this grass because it needs to dry before it can take off. So I have to be prepared to move things very quickly. I'm just kind of putting stuff on top. Now from here I'm going to start with my smaller sticks. Start adding them on because, again, just like the grass, they have to dry. This is a very difficult process. You got to stay very patient. It's all about drying that stuff out. Sometimes you'll be at this point and you'll be trying to make your fire and things will just go out on you. If that happens, don't give up. Just stay patient. Use the smallest sized pieces that you have. Looks like we might have just went out. That's okay. No problem. Grab another cotton ball. Open this stuff up. This time I'm going to do it a little bit different. I'm going to add some more of these small pieces of wood. Let's get the cotton ball in there. Hopefully we'll get this thing ignited. Ignition is very, very difficult sometimes. Again, we're dealing with very inclement conditions, and all the material that we would normally use is kind of not the best material, so we're dealing with marginal materials here. It's a difficult fire to make. I'm fanning with my hand to give the fire oxygen. can hear that the fuel is drying. Once I start getting flames peeking across the top, I'm going to put my next layer on. Slowly start drying those. Just give it a little time to ignite and dry. If you want to introduce a little bit of oxygen by blowing on it, you can. But I don't really think that's necessary at this point because it looks like we're starting to get sufficient flames. Start adding some of the larger stuff. Again, we want to start drying this stuff. Remember, it's damp. So it's important to put it on a little bit early to start that drying process. Don't get too impatient. That piece I had a little bit of snow on it, so I banged the snow off because I don't want to put moisture on it. If you're going to blow air on your fire, it's important to blow from the bottom of the fire up. So get low. You don't ever want to blow air down. These two pieces that I had on the ground that I was using for my lay to put my stuff on, I'm going to start breaking those in. All kinds of different sizes. You hear that snap. If you ever get a piece that just bends, that's not good stuff to use. You want stuff that has a snap. Okay, so there's another angle of the fire. Looks like things are working well for us today. Sometimes you'll come out and you'll have a hard time getting something simple like this going. You see this piece of wood that I'm holding in here? You can see that it has a lot of snow. I'm just going to kind of bang it against the tree and try to remove as much of that snow as I can. Don't want to add any unnecessary moisture to the fire. From here, we just let this fire grow, let it establish, let it take its time, be patient with it, and we'll have a nice warm fire. At this point, you can put damp things on it, but you don't want stuff that's full of snow. That snow obviously will melt and turn to liquid, and it'll put your fire out. So we want to try to establish good, solid coal bed first. Right here behind me, there's a little bit of bark on the tree. If I can take small pieces of this bark off, sometimes what will happen if I'm having trouble getting my fire going, this bark will have natural saps and things like that in it, and that works as an accelerant. So sometimes if you're having a real hard time getting your fire going, try to find some tree sap. Try to find tree sap and put that on your fire. It works almost as good as fuel. How are you?
Doing well, thank
Made a little fire to warm up.
you.
She said they're quite a ways away.
No, they're not.
Come warm your hands.
I can see them. They're not that far.
They're just right there.
Thank God for Skeet, right?
See? We'd survive. We got stuck out here.
For real. So our hands are cold.
That was a hard fire to make.
Was it?
Yeah, it was tough.
Oh, yeah.
It was tough. Took me about 20 minutes. I don't know, how long did it take?
Hold on, I gotta take a picture and send it to Shelly.
Like 30 minutes.
Everything was wet, so it was hard. Oh, I just collapsed it, sorry.
Oh, my hands are warm now.
Everything was wet, so I had to, it was kind of a challenge. But that's what I wanted. I wanted something kind of difficult today.
Mom,
What?
nothing.
That was perfect.
I don't even want it.
Anytime you come out and you make a fire like this in these types of conditions, it's always important to make sure that fire is out before you leave. So I'm going to just gather a little bit of snow. I'm just kind of trying to collapse this thing down a little bit. And I'm just throwing some snow on it. You never leave unless you know 100% that your fire is out. I've seen way too many times people go out, build a fire, and not put it out correctly. And that's crucial. We want to take care of our environment. We don't want to leave any fires like this unattended, things of that nature. This is probably more important than actually building the fire. So I'm just kind of keeping my hand on it. I'm feeling for any signs of heat. I'm also visually looking for smoke. I want to eliminate the heat and the smoke. Both of those components I'm trying to take away. Don't get confused with steam. Steam is different than smoke. Smoke means we're burning. Steam just means that there's heat coming off. Steam is okay, just not smoke. Another thing that you'll notice during this process is you'll notice everything's coming down. See that smoke coming out? I have to cover that. Just like that. You want to basically have it to where there's not really any trace that you were here at all. So we're just about done. We're all set. That fire is officially out. See that? It's all gone. Well, everybody, I want to say thank you for joining us today on making a fire in inclement conditions. I hope that you got some good, useful information out of this video today. Please feel free to thumbs up on this video, share the video, like the video, and if you like the content on my channel, please subscribe. I'd love to have you. And until next time, have a beautiful day. We'll see you later. Now go out there and make you a fire. Bye.